Sounds of the South podcast. We're here with Drew from Hobgoblin.
Hey guys,
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. So you work at Hobgoblin, of course.
Yeah,
How long-
I manage the Southampton shop just down the road from here. Yeah.
Nice. How long have you been working there now?
4 years. So we opened 2015 June. So yeah,
Oh, that's quite recent then.
well, kind of recent. Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, not yeah.
I thought it was open for a lot longer than that.
No, well, the Hobgoblin's
Yeah,
been going
so
since
long.
the 70s. So
Oh,
everyone who's in the folk world knows Hobgoblin as a shop. But yeah, Southampton's the newest kids on the block.
How many stores do you have in the UK?
7.
7.
We've just started one in Edinburgh now, literally
blimey.
this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Brand new then.
brand new. Yeah.
So is it considered, for folk music, is it considered a bit of a chain or?
We're a family-run chain, so like we've got 7 core shops, and we've got a franchise in Manchester, which is in Johnny Roadhouse, which is a quite a known shop in the Manchester scene. A haunt for a lot of the Manchester bands. And yeah, we've got Edinburgh. But yeah, we were started back in the 70s by Pete McClelland and his wife Manny. They just started selling concertinas out of a camper van in sort of like Crawley Market, and it kind of blossomed from there. Yeah, same bosses. So yeah, they're really sort of down to earth musicians, constantly gigging. And yeah, we're definitely a music shop that's run by musicians and only musicians, really.
Best way to be.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So even though we're a relatively big company, we're still family run. It's still completely independent.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. So do you? It's folk instruments, but do you dive into like electric?
Oh yeah. I
instruments
mean,
a lot, like
it's.
guitar?
It depends which store you go to. Like, so I come from a much more of a rock background, rock and like sort of music tech and things like that. I used to work in Music Room, which was a shop in Portsmouth, but that's a big multinational chain. But then I started when we opened up in Southampton. That's when I opened the shop with Pete.
Yeah.
And we picked the site, and we decided East Street would be a nice place to do one. And I'm mostly from a sort of a rock background, but since starting in Hobgoblin, I've gained a huge appreciation for lots of traditional music and lots of traditional instruments.
Yeah.
And the electric guitar and all that stuff is just based on all the old instruments.
Yeah,
Really.
of course.
Yeah.
But do you sell a lot of big brands like Fender? Gibson?
Mostly second hand. We get things in second hand. We've got a few bigger brands that we do deal with as new. Like we deal with Faith guitars, which are on the up and up. Yamaha, and Court. So we do deal with bigger brands, but a lot of the bigger brands don't do the instruments that we mostly deal with. I mean, well, having said that, our bread and butter is squeeze boxes, accordions, melodeons, concertinas, because that's where our roots are.
Yeah.
And of course, Hohner is a pretty big brand for that, making harmonicas and a lot of free reed instruments. So yeah, we deal with big brands within the accordion, melodeon, and concertina. Well, not so much because I'm gonna go off on all sorts of tangents because there's all
That's
sorts
fine.
of weird things with these kind of instruments.
Feel free.
Yeah, concertinas you don't really find many anymore brand new. They're all old, 100-year-old, 200-year-old instruments that you just can't find anymore. So all of those are second-hand and antique that we deal with. Yeah. Accordions we deal with new things like Serenalini and Hohner, Sonola. All the sort of the other big brands, yeah.
Considering that, like, you're obviously a multi-instrument store, what seems to be the most common thing that people come in and purchase? Is it mainly...
It's seasonal. It depends what's kind of what people want at the time. As I said, our bread and butter is accordions.
Yeah.
We sell loads of accordions. Banjos are a big thing at the moment. This past month, I've been selling oodles of mandolas, which I bought one with me, which is this one here. This is a tenor mandola. So yeah, we've been selling loads of these recently. So it just depends what people are after at the time. And again, the second-hand market's a big thing for us as well. So we do lots of second-hand things, and that's just whatever we happen to have that people want.
I feel like the second-hand market with instruments and the music scene is very big, because you go. I'll use Fender as an example. If you go and buy a new Fender guitar, they're quite pricey. But if you can find the same model second-hand, if it's reliable. As you're a store, it's definitely reliable. You're not gonna be a store.
Oh, exactly. Well, that's the thing with when you're shopping second hand with the big brands like Gibson and Fender, is they're also the most counterfeited instruments out there. You don't want to buy not knowing that something's not just got like a neck that's from a chop shop somewhere and then stuck on a different body. Yeah, because there's so many of them out there.
Yeah.
And you do hear horror stories, and I've seen some people who have got spent thousands on what they thought was an original Gibson or a Fender, and it is just a chop shop variety of different parts made to look like it. Because there are very good counterfeit ones out there.
Yeah,
and a lot of beginners are definitely like prone to going out and buying a counterfeit guitar that might end up not keeping them into music.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is again, I'm not someone who's really big into brands. Like I've become really jaded over the years with the big brands, and you can find still, like, you can buy like a copy of something which is still excellent. You just don't want to pay vintage money for something which isn't a vintage instrument, because a lot of the time you buy that as an investment. You kind of think this is only going to appreciate in value, but if it's a copy, it doesn't.
No,
of course.
But for musician purposes, an instrument's an instrument, as far as I'm concerned.
As long as it sounds good.
Yeah, you get it set up by a guitar tech who knows his stuff. Then
it's definitely personal preference as well with instruments. Someone could pick up, say, a precision bass by Fender, and then they go, actually, I'm not too keen on this. Rickenbackers for me.
Exactly.
Something like that. They're both very big, but as an example, it is definitely taste.
And even with guitars, like, they're so customizable. You could buy a cheap one and just build up from it, couldn't you?
Yeah, put in some new pickups, get some new hardware, new machine heads. Yeah, and that's the thing is, again, that's all a guitar like that is just a collection of parts assembled in a certain way to make it perform.
Puts the need for brands, like people that customize their own guitars, they probably just don't care about brands.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's like I always coveted PRS guitars. Like when I was first coming up, and I was getting into my sort of prog metal and stuff. Big fan of Opeth and things like that. And I really coveted the idea of having a PRS, because that's what Mikael Åkerfeldt from Opeth had. And when I had the opportunity to actually play one and I had the money to put down on one, I wasn't blown away.
Yeah.
I ended up getting a custom build from America, just a one-off, and it came out cheaper and I think a lot nicer. Yeah. And that's the thing is like when you want to drop several £1,000s on an instrument, there's so many good makers out there who will make you a guitar just for you.
Yeah.
No one else has, and they will put so much love and attention into it, because again,
it's such a personal item.
Yeah,
it is crazy. Yeah, I think but I'd like as it's an acquired taste. I worry that like the demand for instruments is slowly dying. But as a shop worker in Southampton, would you feel like that is a thing, or would you say it's kind of
no? I mean, we're living in interesting times at the moment, and people turn to music and creativity and expression for that kind of thing. So, like, if anything, we're seeing an increase in demand for instruments. It's kind of it's weird. Like, any time there's scary things going on in the world, people do turn to creative outlets to try and sort of make sense of it.
It's weird because a lot of people, when they're like talking about the music scene, they'll say, "Oh, it's going nowhere. It's crumbling due to like cuts in education and all that stuff." But when you go like underneath like that news article bits and look into what's actually going on, you can see that.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it's, there's so many angles that you can look at it from. Because we don't have any really seriously interesting mainstream music coming up, because it is predominantly sort of manufactured and there's so many writers involved that aren't even in the band, and things like that. But yeah, like you said, when you dip underneath the surface and you see some of the independent artists out there's so many interesting things going on out there.
It's still going. It's still alive.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
You just have to search for it like you did back in the olden days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back when I was a kid growing up in the 90s, yeah, on the bygone eras of music before the internet and Spotify and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, we had to go to CD fairs and dig out weird bands that we'd never heard of and put it in and hope for the best. And
I used to do like a HMV when that was still a thing around here, but I just got rid of that. So
yeah,
it's a shame to see that sort of thing, in a sense, die because of the streaming platforms available like Spotify and is it the Apple Music now as well, like Tidal, I think it's one of them. They have shot up, and it's even myself, it's definitely killed how I'd go out and I'd dig for vinyls.
And it also changes how you consume music as well, doesn't it? Yeah,
I mean, like it's a lot rarer that I now go home and put on a record because I can just put on my speaker with a song, which is a shame really, but it is so easily accessible that sometimes you can't help it. So it is a shame that that's sort of happening.
But I mean, there's a flip side to it as well, because I've found so many interesting artists just by, like, some of the best bands I'm into at the moment, I've found just by searching through, streaming services and going on related artists and the related artists to that.
Yeah,
you kind of go off on these nice little tangents and you find something you could have never found otherwise.
In a sense, it is kind of a good platform. The way it's set out, I use Spotify personally, but the way it, like you said, the related artists, clicking through, you do end up sometimes on there for hours just going through, new artists. But yeah, I think I do think they need to pay more though.
Yeah, definitely.
I think because they're not getting, artists aren't getting enough money, and that's what's going to kill it the most.
That's the thing. Is that's what kills creativity, is where you don't feel you're rewarded for it.
Yeah,
definitely.
If you feel that it's just an endless slog and you never get appreciation, and then the easiest thing to do is to just use that old music adage, sell out, and just do something mainstream so you can get noticed, then that is sad, because you wonder how many amazing experiences have been lost to the what's the word? I can't think of it. Just the giving up.
Yeah,
just thinking, I'm just going to give up and I'm just going to do something that everyone wants to hear rather than what a niche amount of people want to hear.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like as much as a reward getting people hearing your stuff, the money is...
Well, because you want to do what you love doing, but then you have to make sacrifice, and then you wonder whether you still love doing it. How do you win? Yeah,
it's similar to the shows in the Southampton scene. It's I feel like there's less people. I mean, recently there's definitely been a lot of people going to shows still, but it's not as big as it was, I'm sure, 10 years ago.
No.
And it is a shame, and I feel like people just need to get out there. Then, I mean, tickets aren't usually much. If a bigger artist comes in, it's probably going to be about £10, maybe more, depending on who they are.
Yeah. £20 at most, really.
Yeah, usually. I mean, Guildhall tickets are at most £25. But, I mean, the joiners, it's usually about £5 a ticket. And the amount of incredible bands in this scene that I almost just want to see go somewhere, because they are that good. They deserve everything from it, because people who are really dedicated as well. They don't just give up.
They're grounded in their roots.
They know what they want out of this, and they just keep pushing for it. And it's a shame that other people aren't coming together. Yeah, so I think.
I mean, it always goes through sort of phases, because even though I work in a folk instrument shop, and my background being rock, like I played in a sort of a progressive metal band, and we didn't get many people. Sometimes when we played at like the Railway or at the Joiners, we'd just be playing to the other bands. But that was probably just because we played music that no one wanted to hear. I don't know.
But it's all about the enjoyment, really, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And we were together with friends, and we were writing songs together, and you can do things for money, but ultimately people still. That's why there are still all these great artists out there still doing it, even though they're not getting the attention. It's because they still just love doing it for that. Yeah. The motivating factor in things isn't always money.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And it's such an experience.
Yeah.
I remember I was 14, my first show, and it was at the Brook, and I was just so scared. But at the end, it was like, that's the greatest feeling
Just wanna
I've
do it
ever
again,
had,
yeah.
and then you just want to go again.
Yeah.
And now I'm in a constant band now.
Yeah.
And like each time I play a show, I finish. I'm like, I want to go for longer. I want a longer set. I want to play tomorrow night.
Yeah.
You know, the only part you dread is carrying the gear back to the car. It's a 4x10 bass cab.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, it's part of the charm of it.
It's part of the experience, isn't it? Yeah.
But it's the first time you get on is so incredible. With friends as well. It's something that I wish people would push out to do more still, because I feel like the electronic side of music has taken a stand. But I mean, that's no major issue.
But again, like I said, it depends where you look, because like in the folk scene, which is becoming more and more prominent, that just thrives at the moment with just live and getting together and playing. So with Hobgoblin, ever since we started back in the 70s, we've been appearing at Sidmouth Folk Festival, which did start off as a small seaside festival for folk music back in back in the sort of 70s, 60s sort of time, and that now it's turned into a week-long affair that takes over the entire city.
That's incredible.
And I go there every year to manage the Hobgoblin music tent there, and yeah, it's just absolutely packed. There's just people everywhere in the street all night doing Morris dancing. Every single pub in the entire seaside city is just packed with musicians, all just playing songs together in tunes. It's great. I mean, you should go if you're into music and beer. Then yeah, it's
perfect.
Yeah, it's like
so when are they held?
Well, Sidmouth Folk Week, I think this year is 3rd of August.
3rd of August, let's do it.
Yeah, it's but it's huge. There's just it takes over the entire city, and you can't go anywhere without finding just music in the streets or spilling out of the pub into the streets. Yeah,
that sounds like a dream come true.
Yeah, and it's very welcoming as well, because I don't have many chops on folk songs. I don't know a huge amount of them. I can do a few sort of test pieces and show pieces for the shop, but whenever I go there, we always end up, after we close up the tent, we always end up going to a pub, going to a session. Most of my colleagues have brought their violin or their whistle or their squeeze box with them. And last year I just turned up with some Jaws harps and just played along with on a Jaws harp with a bunch of people, and you do just sit in and join in. Yeah. Sometimes you have to ask someone what key you're playing in, but other than that,
just good to go.
Very community sort of driven.
Oh yeah, very. It's the nicest environment as well. It's so welcoming, and it's a very, very nice grassroots sort of movement, and that's folk is a big thing at the moment. Sort of traditional English Morris dancing, and the younger generation into it as well. It's not just something that is it's not a dying art.
No,
there are loads of young people who are getting into Morris dancing and setting up sides and playing tunes with people. It's
great to see younger people still dive into these sort of the music that isn't in the charts right now.
Yeah,
especially quite an old style of music as well. It's probably rooted in medieval times.
Well, some of it is, yeah. A lot of the stuff that we mostly cater for is probably not as old as that.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, like Morris dancing does have its roots way back. I'd have to sort of check the exact dates, but I mean, originally it was a way for I think. I really just want to get my phone out and just double check, but it was something that coal miners used to do. People who worked in mines and things. They'd come up at the end of the day and they'd all get together and dance and play tunes for extra money. So they'd have bells on for all the attention and things like that to sort of get people to come over and watch them. And yeah, it was very much a thing to. It's just like busking, really, but medieval busking, but it wasn't medieval. I don't think.
It'd be great to see like the folk music, like people busking in that style instead of just a guy with an acoustic guitar.
No, yeah, it would be
shouting his lungs off,
much more
or singing an Ed Sheeran song. There's a couple. I mean, they're all talented to an extent, and it's all taste as well. But there's definitely a few artists I've seen up.
This is really going to bug me. I'm going to have to. The thing is I'm representing a company which is rooted in folk music, and I'm quoting things which may be completely wrong. So let's have a look. Let's learn a little bit about Morris dancing. So,
Sounds a plan.
have either of you seen any sort of Morris dancing before?
Yeah, in Romsey they have the Beggars Fair every year.
Yeah. Well, my co-worker Sam, he plays for Red Stag Morris. So he plays Melodian for them. So that's probably the people. I know he goes to the Beggars Fair every year and does it there. So you've probably seen my co-worker Sam doing it.
There's a Beggars Fair in Romsey. Yeah. What's it? I never go to Romsey because it's primarily old people. But what is happening?
It's just it's.
Well, it's got a farmers market and things like that. Yeah.
They got like loads of stuff. It's just like a big sort of fair, really. Like they got shows on a big stage. People go to the pub.
Might have to come up.
Yes.
When does it happen?
Normally happens like June or July time.
Summertime,
yeah.
So the earliest mention of Morris dancing is back in 1448.
Close enough.
Does that count as medieval?
I'd say before the 1500s. Yeah.
Yeah, you reckon? Okay, yeah.
Just about, yeah.
I'd say like.
Full disclosure, I'm Australian, so yeah, not great on my history because I come from a very young country.
Wasn't the Tudors the 1400s? What was that? Because
Tudors were like
between
late
1400s and 1500s, and then it was
Stuarts.
Queen Anne or so, was it? She was 1600s onwards.
Stuarts were 1600s.
I have no clue. I didn't go
to
to history.
Tudors and Stuarts.
Didn't go to history.
1600 was like Guy Fawkes times.
1800s was Victorian, right?
Yeah. 1700s is just that time there.
No one did anything.
They just wore wigs.
Yeah, so it was apparently became performance for the lower classes by the 16th century. Mentioned in Shakespearean literature occasionally.
Maybe that's why it's called Beggars Fair then.
Well, yeah, I mean the thing is Morris dancing was not it was kind of a form of begging as far as I understand. Sam has tried to teach me some of the history of it, and I'm pretty good at remembering things, but yeah, sometimes my memory fails me when it's something that I'm not very good at myself, and I can't dance for beans. But yeah, so broadly speaking, I was correct in my assessment of the origins and purpose of Morris dancing. So there you go. There you go.
So you've clearly brought some stuff with you.
I have.
Yes.
Shall we have a look at that?
We can.
Let's
Yeah.
look at the
Mainly-
UFO
We'll do
first.
the show and tell, the UFO. Okay.
So hangpan.
It's a hangpan. Yeah. This is an Irish-made hangpan. Hang drums are notoriously difficult to find nowadays. This we get in from a company in Ireland called Panamore. So this is a Celtic hangpan, so it's tuned to a D minor. I'm only half dressed like someone who plays a hangpan. I've got the sort of the floppy hat, but I haven't got the dreads and the tie-dye t-shirt. But yeah, this is played with your hands, and you kind of hit with your thumb. Resonant, and because it's all tuned to the same thing, everything kind of just sings nicely to each other because all the bits are very complementary.
Sounds so good. I really love the sound of that.
Yeah, no, it's one of these instruments you can just noodle around on, and it sounds really nice. It makes a great busking instrument as well because it looks interesting. Sounds really, really ethereal.
Rare as well. You won't see many people with them.
Yeah,
well, again, yeah, because they're very difficult to find. So yeah, I mean, we're very lucky to have these in our shop. Because for years I've had people ring me up saying, "Have you got any of these?" And the answer's usually no, because I keep saying they're really rare. And when someone has one, they either don't want to sell it or they want to sell it for a lot of money.
Yeah, I've looked online and some of them are just so expensive, like $2,000 over.
Yeah,
I've seen them for,
yeah. I mean, this one here is $1,200, so it's still not cheap, but for what it is,
in the blue.
Yeah, for the fact that it's a hangpan for that kind of price is actually not that expensive for a hangpan.
That's incredible.
You can have a go if you want.
Probably won't know how to do it.
Well, your main instrument's guitar, is it?
Bass guitar, so.
Bass guitar. Well, there you go. You got this sort of the popping and
that
slapping. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. If you hit the outer part of the divot.
Ah, there. I can't really do it. must be so like a little bit difficult to get used to in the sense of like for me it's primarily slap with my left because I'm left-handed, and then. But whereas you kind of got to go round. Do you have to alternate hands for the centre, or do you always stick?
Well, the thing is, I'm a kit drummer. Nice. You know, drum kits and guitars are my main instrument. So all I can really do is just apply rudiments to that. So
I don't know anything. Nothing, but I will. Picks up nicely in the microphone there. Something about that.
Well, all of the Panamores have got really, really nice. They look very artistic as well as sounding artistic. They look very, very decorative, very aesthetic.
That just
so like
sounds incredible, looks incredible, definitely.
I've always wanted so badly.
If I saw that in the street and they were busking, I'd be there for hours.
I'd rob it.
Whoa! Yeah, he's gonna steal it.
Chuck a penny whilst they go to like pick it up. Yoink.
Give him a penny for
much.
a $2,000.
No, I wouldn't.
No.
Stealing. Okay.
It's wrong.
Big string thing.
Very wrong.
Full disclaimer, yeah.
Right.
And they're personal. That's the last thing you
Yeah,
should
exactly.
do as well.
Yeah, a musician should never steal from another musician. Ape shall not kill ape.
You hear those stories where bands have their vans ransacked.
Oh, damn,
It's so sad because that guitar is so personal to the guitarist.
And it's not really worth that much to the person who steals it either.
No.
It is a shame.
It's such a needless waste of something that's used to create.
Yeah, it is. That's incredible.
Thanks for letting me bring it. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I brought as much as I could carry up the road.
And more.
Well,
And more.
yeah, I had to make
we'll
make
move
two
on to that
trips
later.
Yeah.
So that is a mandala.
That's a mandola.
Oh, mandola. Okay.
You did furnish me with a pick, and I've already lost it. I've got this kind of curse where the moment something enters my hands, it just
disappears.
Yeah, it goes off to the see-through zone. The upside down. Oh no, it is in my back pocket. Yeah.
Nice. I thought I saw it elsewhere.
No, so this is a more traditional instrument. This is used for playing sort of like a lot of Irish music, English. So it's like a mandolin, but a little bit bigger. There's several different types of mandolas. What I've bought is a tenor mandola. Just I particularly like this one. It's a very nice sounding one. And Ashbury is one of the things that Hobgoblin makes. We get these, we design these ourselves, and we get them made to our specs.
So that's like Hobgoblin's own brand.
Yeah, own brand seems to. It's not like sort of Tesco's own brand value type thing. They are very, very nicely made instruments, and they usually got good luthiers behind them as well. So we'll have them help with like Phil Davidson, who's a really, really good British luthier. So they're designed to a very high spec, and they're nicely made, nice wood.
It's a nice colour.
Yeah. I mean, so the tenor mandola's tuned more like it's like a viola almost. So it's up from a mandolin, but then there's the bigger version of this, which is called an octave mandola or an octave mandolin, depending on what particular nomenclature you subscribe to. This is kind of like the in between, the middle, the red-headed stepchild.
It's very bright sounding.
So yeah, it's used for playing traditional music. But it's like if you play a violin or anything like that, or a mandolin, it's exactly the same logic. So all the chord shapes are the same. You wanna have a go?
Not me. I'm not right-handed.
What's the tunings there?
So the top string is a C.
Top is in the highest one. Right?
Cardinal sin. Yeah, no. The bottom string is a C. The one at the highest elevation. That's a C. Then you got a G, then a D, then an A. So like a viola.
Oh, that makes sense.
C, G, D, A. So it's tuned in fifths. So the relative tuning on a guitar, you obviously use the fifth fret. On that, use the 7th fret for the relative tuning. There you go.
It's got such a lovely finish.
Yeah.
I really do like that.
Well, that's spruce top and flame maple. I'm a bit of a wood nerd.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's flame maple back and sides with the spruce top.
A little bit. Nice.
And the carving on it's really nice because like you can feel like this. It's got this sort of like really nice bevel around the outside of it where it kind of
Yeah.
sinks in and then rises back up.
Oh yeah.
Some what they used to do with a lot of old German violins.
So, the strap peg. I'm left-handed, so
You
for
can,
me,
yeah.
would it still
You'd need
work,
to,
or does it have to?
No,
be underneath?
you'd have to get a left-handed one, really.
Yeah, you do.
But you can convert them fairly easily because the headstock's symmetrical. You can tune it the other way. You just need to get the nut recut and then the bridge switched round. But the bridge is floating, so the bridge does just come off, or the saddle rather.
It's not heavy, but it's a lot like heavier than it looks.
Mm.
It feels. Oh, it's really nice.
It's really pretty.
So you see mandolins and violins and mandolas at sessions all the time.
Oh, I don't even know what I'm doing at this point.
Yeah, you're jamming.
I'd be hopeless with this.
But yeah, you can get left-handed ones. Yeah, a lot of the time because there's so many lefties in Southampton. We get these converted all the time for
Really?
people. Yeah, people just come in and say, "I like this, but it's not left-handed." I'm like, "Well, okay, let's make it left-handed."
Sort it,
So
yeah.
so we usually just get them changed round. Sometimes we can do it on the day. Sometimes we have to send it off. But
How much do you sell for?
that one's 800. But you can get mandolas for as little as I think the cheapest one that we do is about 250.
It's not bad price at all.
Yeah, and that would still be for like a
800
nice solid top as well. This one's all solid, so this is all solid carved flame maple, solid spruce. Yeah, so this is a higher end one, but yeah, it came in this week for a customer, and I thought, well, before he comes in for it, I'll bring it along.
Here we are playing it.
Yeah, well, the thing is you got to try them out first.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
this has been another branch for the past 2 weeks, so it's already been played in. So I really digged it. I thought it was really nice.
Just out of curiosity, do people ever make their own instruments and try to sell it to Hobgoblin to
Yeah,
sell?
I have had like some handmade things. Depends. Like, I mean, we work with a lot of local makers as well. So there's a guy around the corner who makes banjos. Called Slim Jim. So I sell some of his banjos. He makes really nice banjos. Really nice.
Have a look at them.
Yeah, no, they're really, really good. Very, very well made. There's loads of really good makers in Southampton as well, and we act as a platform for them to sell. So, yeah, so people do. Mostly, what we sell is like people who have like a professional setup.
Oh, okay.
There's very few people who come in with a guitar that they've just cobbled together. That I would say a lot of the time those kind of things I say, yeah, keep it. It's something that you've made for yourself.
So people do try to do that though.
Yeah, occasionally. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, most often it's where they've bought something, they've refinished it, and then they try and sell it, or they've tried to do a different paint job on it, and they go, do you want to buy this? I'm like, no. Well, it's nothing personal. It's purely
No,
just
of
because a
course.
lot of the time, like, people don't want an instrument which has been refinished because they want the original finish with it. So that's the most common problem that I run up with is people try and refinish an instrument into something that's not common, and they think, I've got this Epiphone or Gibson that I've repainted, and I'm like, problem is people want the original finish.
Yeah.
You can't buy someone that you're not able to really turn a profit on, really, can you? So.
Well, that's how a business stays alive.
Yeah.
Is it pays for me, and it pays for the lights, and it pays for all the things we sell.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, tell us about Big Strings.
Big Strings.
Should we move this out of the way as well?
Yeah, I can do that.
Get some.
No, just keep it away. It looks nice.
Put it here.
say it better in the interview. Yeah, this is a Chinese guzheng, which is an old
Chinese guzheng. Oh.
So that's what that sounds like. Have you seen one of these before?
I have.
I feel like I have
in the store, but
It's the one thing that everyone always says when they come in and see it. It's I've seen that on Kung Fu Hustle, and that's what that is. The guy. Have you seen Kung Fu Hustle?
not myself.
No, it's a good waifu movie, but there's a bit where someone's like playing one and shooting knives out of it.
Nice.
So
I feel like I've seen that clip.
You've probably seen it's quite a well-known clip, but yeah, that's what that instrument is.
That's incredible.
It's from a family of instruments called zithers, which is anything which kind of has strings stretched over a soundboard. So there's a lot. Zither is a very broad species of instrument, and the guzheng is very old. It's 2,500 years old. Well, the earliest references of it date back to sort of like 500 BCE.
It sounds very pretty.
Oh, it's amazing. It's actually a very straightforward instrument to play as well, because it's tuned to a D major pentatonic, so it's very easy to get a nice sound out of it, and you can get like different notes that aren't in there by
bending the strings.
the strings. But this is where the skill of a player really comes in, is because you have to kind of do that on the fly. So yeah,
Wow.
You can do an awful lot with them, but the real difficult thing is you have to learn a completely different method of reading and understanding music, because a lot of traditional Chinese classical or folk music is tabulated and written in a completely different way.
Yeah. How would they tab or write that out?
Well, it's a lot of it's done in like sort of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la and stuff like that. Okay. So I did try to learn some traditional Chinese instrumentals on it, but it's very difficult for someone who's used to notation or things like that to really wrap your head around, because it works in it works in a lot of dots. There's lots of little sort of dots, and they kind of occupy different levels below or above what the key is in. So this is in a D major pentatonic, but a lot of songs will be written in a C major. So you have to kind of like do it with the little dots and transpose and go, right, you need to go for the note above that, and then it's at that register, and it's the A above the other A, that kind of thing. So it's kind of difficult if you're a bit dumb like I am and you can't really work it out.
I couldn't begin to imagine how much of a nightmare it is to move that around out, within, if it's in a van or a car. I mean, because it looks very delicate.
No, it's not. No, I carried that up here under my arm like it was like a ladder. But yeah, they are very. It's not a fragile instrument. It's very easy to accidentally put out of tune, because all of those triangles that the strings sit on, they do move, and you're supposed to intonate them. So that one is probably not exactly intonated right. It's broadly speaking, it's roughly where it should be.
Well, it sounds incredible.
So. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Did you want to have a go?
Yeah, go on. You go first.
No, you go. We know he wants to.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He knows he wants to.
I just don't want to embarrass myself.
It's all about
quite difficult to sound it bad. You'll sound bad if you strike any of the notes from the nightmare zone, which is the other side.
So
this side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, my days.
Yeah, that's.
How much does something like this go for then?
Well, that one there is only $3.99. It's not a lot for like the sound that it makes. Yeah.
No, not at all.
And we find a lot of like sort of people who do sound design or sort of soundtracks for movies or things like that. It's a really good instrument for that. Yeah. Because it's a talking point.
Yeah. Like I said earlier about the busking with the hangpan, and seeing this,
Yep.
would blow my mind. This is.
That's why I wanted to bring it. It's a really special instrument.
It is.
It's very special. And I think it's great that we have them as well, because there's quite a lot of students that come over from China, and they have a guzheng back at home, and they're like, I couldn't bring it with me, so I'm really glad that you have one here that I can practice on while I'm here studying.
No, bloody table. Got space?
Yeah, all good. This is mad. So this compartment here.
That's the yes, the hidden the forbidden chamber. It's where angry spirits live. It's where the tuning pegs are.
Oh. Right.
So let's open it up.
What do you do about it?
You push it down. So you pluck the string. You have to. So you can either get tremolo, vibrato. One technique that you'll see used quite often is where you depress it all the way down.
Wow. It's cool to see how that traditional Chinese sound is actually made.
Yeah.
Like
You always, when you hear it, you think.
like how they making it sound like that. And you
So
just think,
there's actually some music in here. So this is a traditional Chinese song called "Crying Sand." This is one that I tried learning by the look of it, and then gave up, and then just hid it in the forbidden chamber. Yeah, there you go. You can see the sort of the way it does the notation. So it's kind of like halfway between tab, paint by numbers and instructions. And you see dots on top of the on top of the numbers, which give you an indication of what reference. So the number represents what it is, whether it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, and things like that. But then it also has like a sort of the register at which you play that.
Is that like? Wait. So what are the lines underneath represent anything?
Something which I don't know.
Oh.
Because, like I said, I'm not clever enough to fully understand the way the Chinese do their music notation.
That's.
But I've tried to wrap my head around it, and I've gotten so far. The thing is, it's also such an instantly gratifying instrument to play.
Yeah.
Sometimes a lazy person like me will go, you know what? I just like playing on it. I don't need to learn something. But yeah, that's where you tune it. And it's actually fairly straightforward to tune as well, because it's in a pentatonic. You can just tune all the relative notes. So you can just tune the first 5 and then go, okay, so these two.
Do the different colour strings represent anything, or is that
Well,
just?
these are the A's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it just kind of gives you an idea of what register you're moving with it.
Okay.
So, and there's a swanee whistle in here as well. It's like the opposite of the guzheng. It's the least dignified instrument there is. So, but yeah, I'm going to put that back. We don't need to get it.
Oh. That notation is just so weird. Like,
Yeah, no, it's fascinating to see how a different culture has
notates their stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's a completely separate way of So yeah, you can see the little arrows where it kind of sort of says this is where you do a pitch bend and things like that, and yeah, and then the little dots beneath the little line there that tells you what register you're doing it. I think if it's a dot above, then you do it a higher register from the middle, and then the other ones are the lower registers. And then the number represents what sound you're going for, whether it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. But there's loads of different versions of them for a lot of the different Asian countries. So there's like the Vietnamese Dao Tran, Japanese Koto, I think it's called.
The name sounds familiar.
But yeah, it's they all kind of evolved from the same kind of beast. Yeah.
How much do they normally go for?
Yeah, $399 that one is. So
That's not bad. So big.
Yeah.
I could even begin to think where I'd put it.
Well,
myself.
This is like a big keyboard, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't really have the space for a big keyboard.
I've heard people either put it behind a couch, like if you got an open plan living room, you kind of have it like behind you, behind your couch,
space, don't you?
Or you prop it up. Yeah, just
keep it there.
Yeah,
I bet it looks lovely.
That's a work of art as well.
It is. The
makes good
details
decoration.
of the
just sort of
flowers
sit
just
there.
look incredible.
Yeah. No, it's one of the favourite things that I do in the shop. It's a really nice instrument.
I can see why.
It's blown me away. Sorry, yeah. It's just I'm just looking at it thinking, wow.
What wood is it made of? Do you know?
The top is made of paulownia traditionally. I'm pretty sure that looks like paulownia. The rest of it is probably some. The soundboard is definitely paulownia, I'm sure. The rest of it's probably some kind of mahogany.
Okay.
There's lots of different types of mahogany though, but I'm sure someone in the comments section will correct me and all the misinformation that I've given.
You are wrong.
Well, I probably am. I'm not proud. I am frequently wrong about lots of things, so please correct me where necessary.
I'm sure they won't be.
But even then, like we all know they sound good. Like, just enjoy the music. Don't worry about the facts.
Facts are important. Yeah, no. The thing is like because they're traditional, like you want to get the right sort of information about them. And yeah, I have done a bit of reading on them because it's such a fascinating instrument. It's such a long history. I think apparently it was originally invented by a general in a military army for one of the dynasties.
Well, he's a legend. If that's how it was, then he's a legend.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's lovely. Well, thank you.
It's nice to know as well that they're around the corner.
Yes,
as well. If I ever thought, get one, it's only around the corner.
Get a Guzheng,
whereas some places probably don't have the same.
I mean, you have been into the shop before, haven't you?
Yeah.
I mean, see, you know the kind of stuff that we do. There's loads of things. But yeah, we got loads of zithers. I mean, like just in general, like so that is one. But there's we do things like old hammered dulcimers, old English instruments, which are also another instrument which is managed to cross-pollinate across loads of different cultures, and there's a different version of it in loads of different countries. So the hammered dulcimer, which is in England, that's found in like Hungary with the cymbalom. It's found in sort of the Middle East with the Persian santur. There's even China has one called I can't remember. I was going to say Qin, but I think that is just a smaller version of that. Again, let us know. Any experts in ancient Chinese instruments, please inform me, educate me. But that's the really cool thing about a lot of these instruments is they have a common genesis somewhere that then branched off and evolved and mutated, and we have a common ground spanning so many ages and continents, all within just like sort of instruments. It's one of the really magic things about music.
Wonder if that's the seagulls saying they're enjoying it.
Yeah,
they're so loud.
Joining in.
Had to have that door open. It's
So, how do you personally feel Hobgoblin has affected the local folk scene that's going on? Or
I would like to say positively.
Absolutely.
I mean, sincerely, I think we have, because one of the reasons we wanted to open up the shop in Southampton is we knew that there was lots of people who wanted one of us there.
There's not many folk places around, is there?
Well, the nearest Hobgoblin to us is Brighton.
I think,
Yeah, and then there's another one in Bristol. Yeah, just by the train station. Yeah, it's literally
I must have walked right past that.
Well,
and I went, but
yeah, I mean, it's literally you go out the train station, straight down the road, and Hobgoblin's right there on the left. But that's been there. I think they were there for about 2 years more than Southampton.
And how about the Bristol store?
The Bristol store has been there for a bit longer.
Do you know which store was the first one that opened?
Crawley was the very first one, because that was like where Pete and Manny started just selling instruments together. Okay. And then they bought a store. It was the first one to open and the last one to close. It closed right after we opened in Southampton, and we inherited a lot of their old furniture. And the only reason it closed was just because it was kind of out of the way. It was in a weird kind of like it wasn't in a main sort of easy to get to city centre.
Yeah.
So it just made more sense to have them in more localised areas where it was easier to get to. But yeah, the first shop was in 1976.
Okay.
So we celebrated our 40th anniversary 3 years ago. God, it's 2019 already.
I know. Crazy feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, did the store do anything with the local music community in the scene?
Well,
Like,
here right now, aren't I?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, out of student hours. More like with any sort of venues that you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm again because we're patrons of music festivals. Like I said, we appear at Sidmouth every year. We go to all of the music festivals, and we're a known shop. There, people. I mean, Sidmouth in particular. Customers that we know regularly save up all year just to come to our folk tent and see what we've got there, and they save up for their big concertina or big melodeon purchase for Sidmouth. So sometimes we are a destination within Sidmouth itself. So yeah, we always like patronise the festivals. We'll usually sort of have money for a stage and sort of like sponsor things there. Yeah, and we're big with education, stuff like that. So I mean that's one of the reasons why you guys said, "Can you come and have a chat?" I was like, "Yeah, sounds cool."
I'm pretty sure I emailed on a Sunday, didn't I?
Yeah.
So bad time.
Yeah, well I got it on Monday, so it all worked out. It all worked out.
Here we are.
Was it a bit? You've been working there for 4 years, you said. So did you feel like it was a bit of a learning curve, where all these instruments have like been in your face now, whereas it was kind of like you said.
Some things, yes. I am very good at retaining information on things that I'm interested in, at least. Yeah. So it was only so much. It was only so much a learning curve and just learning new, like sort of
techniques,
tunings, and things for things. So I mean, coming from a guitar background, learning mandolin was just going, okay, this is tuned in fifths rather than fourths.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, I get that. The biggest issue is playing other things which are totally out of my wheelhouse, like accordion. I can talk about accordions and how they're made and things like that, but not how to play them. Because but that's why we operate as like a bit of a sort of a family. Like that's what I rely on Sam for, my Morris dancing colleague. Yeah, because he lives and breathes for free reed instruments. So people come in and they ask him about accordions and melodeons, and he can talk for days about them, and I'm kind of like, cool. you that's good. I'm glad you're here because I don't know. I can do a few. I can do one cursed tune on the melodeon, which is called Speed the Plough, which I'm not going to play for you because it's people who know folk tunes, you'll know what I'm talking about. Speed the Plough is. It's kind of like the Stairway to Heaven of the melodeon world. It's just
like signature song.
Yeah, it's the signature song that you hear everyone play. It's a very easy song to play though as well. So it's a good introduction to playing an instrument, which for someone like me would be overwhelmed with it because there's so many buttons and it doesn't work like something with frets. So yeah, it was a bit of a learning curve. But yeah, like I said, I'm kind of good at remembering just stats, information, tunings. I think it's one of my only sort of saving graces, really. So I'm just a bit of a dork when it comes to remembering things.
So as a music fan, do you indulge yourself into the local scene a bit as well? Do you have any sort of favoured bands that you enjoy watching? Or
oh goodness me! The ex-lead guitarist from my band is in a very very good band called the Septic Stars. Yeah, they're really exciting. They're really fun. Yeah, they're very very lively, very sort of great live show. But the other thing is I'm not as good with the local scene as I used to be. Not being part of it anymore, just because I've kind of taken a long hiatus from music to focus on the shop and other projects. But there's so many really really talented people. I employ some of them. Like we've got some really really good musicians working for us. We've got Catalyzer Tarrant or Catalyzer T. She's a very gifted a musician who works the Southampton scene. She works in my shop. There's obviously Sam who's in the Red Stags Morris. Russell Drain. He's a really really good sort of like loop guitarist. We've just got really we all have musicians working in our shops, and all of us, all the shops across the country, we're all gigging musicians one way or another. Yeah. So
we are running out of time.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
That's all right.
It felt so much quicker. It's that.